Yes, sir. Good time rock and roll. Old time rock and roll.
But you won't get any of that here.
But you're not going to hear any of that here because we're a sports show. And we're going to jump right into the recap of the Oklahoma-Texas Tech exhibition match. Friendly. It was a friendly if you're Texas Tech. Wasn't so friendly for Texas Tech, but they appeared to be friendly. Bill, Jalen Hurts continuing on as the Heisman favorite. 17 of 24, 415 yards, 17.3 average, 3 touchdowns, and 1 pick.
And let's be honest, the pick was a kind of a fluky pick, too.
55-16. Absolutely, that game went about as to plan in terms of what you and I talked about as it could have been. I still think it would have served OU better had Alan Bowman been healthy. However, I'm glad he's still not able to play because the Cowboys go to Lubbock this weekend. But Trey Sermon, 7 carries, 76 yards. Brooks, 8 carries for 29 yards. He had a little bit tougher go of it.
Well, he had a little bit of an injury situation, too.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. 3.6 per carry compared to 10.9. And then Jalen Hurts, he rips off 70 yards for a 7.8 average and yet another rushing touchdown. C.D. Lamb really had the best game that I've seen him have.
It's almost, he was still kind of favoring Rambo in situations, but they kind of figured out ways to get C.D. a little bit more involved, more than normal.
Seven catches, 185 yards, 26.4 yard average, 3 TDs, longest was 71. How about this stat, Bill? You mentioned Rambo. He only had 2 catches, right? 2 catches for 122 yards, 61 yards an average, right? He didn't score.
Well, and the other portion of that
Think about that.
Think about, they've got Hazelwood just sitting there.
Hazelwood, 6 carries, 59 yards, 9.8. He didn't score. But how do you have 122 yards on 2 catches and not get in the end zone?
It's fairly impressive. That's a good,
it's almost
good
like
average.
we're going to run down and step out and run some clock.
It's like those Josh Gordon averages in the NFL. He's got just like 1 million yards, but he never quite gets to the end zone.
Texas Tech, quarterback rating for Jet Duffy, 12.3.
Ooh.
For the guy from Rice that couldn't start there, 1.8, and the other guy 1.1. Jet Duffy didn't start, but he's been named the starter with his 12.1 QBR for next week.
I watched a good portion of that game, and when they interchange those quarterbacks, the offense just looks worse and worse every time they kept switching them out.
Bill, how could they have ever started that guy? I mean, Duffy's the only one that even looked like he was physically capable of playing football.
I mean, this is maybe it's to help him stay healthy longer because it really looks like they don't have a quarterback at all. It's not the whole, we've got Tebow sitting on our bench and he's going to come in and run occasionally and then we're going to take him back out and sub in whoever. It's, we got 3 guys and we don't feel comfortable with any of them.
Let me ask you a question.
Just to prolong the health of one of the guys, we're going to sub in and out.
Think about both Texas Tech and TCU.
Mm-hmm.
Neither one of them have a quality quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, SMU, who's ranked 25th in the country for the first time since they got the death penalty when I was about 14, and that's been like 15 years ago, they've got Bichelle.
Well, weren't they ranked with Gabber?
They've got Shane Bichelle.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is you got a guy at a much less impressive program that's got that team in the top 25 and beat TCU at TCU, yet TCU and Texas Tech, and I don't know if you know this or not, Bill, but Texas Tech has produced some fairly decent, productive quarterbacks over the years, and in times, even their second and third team quarterbacks maybe didn't even stick around, might have gone to another Big 12 school and had some success. Now they don't have anybody, they get Bowman hurt, and they don't even have a backup, which is interesting because Bowman almost left the team last year. Remember, we talked about after the second collapsed lung, he was ready to chuck it, and they don't have a backup quarterback. That just blows my mind that they're that weak at quarterback.
It's going to be a rough year. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, Tech was 12 for 26 for 122 yards, a 4.7 average, no touchdowns, no interceptions. They rushed the ball now. They rushed the ball better.
Yeah.
37 times, 192 yards, a 5.2 average, had that 58-yard run. Sir Roderick Thompson, 13 for 96, had the TD. But Bill, that was a tough spot for Texas Tech. And like I said, I just don't know yet. I think OU's defense is good. They're certainly better. There's no doubt about that. Part of that's because there wasn't any way to be worse, but they're certainly better. But
we're not going to know till Texas.
Yes, because you've got to play somebody who's got an offensive identity, and you've got to be able to make them not do what they want to do, which leads us into the Oklahoma State-Kansas State game, because the narrative, including mine, was this was going to be a tight game. I told you I felt like Oklahoma State would be able to outscore K-State, but my concern was time of possession based on the three-man front and watching what Texas did and knowing K-State had 2 weeks to prepare. Oklahoma State, Jim Knowles used a few little wrinkles, got a fourth guy on the line, actually had five at times, and you didn't know where the fifth one was coming. And Kansas State was basically shut down in that game offensively. They haven't been handled like that in quite some time. Kansas State had, let me find it here. Kansas State had 32 rushes for 126 yards. They averaged 3.9 yards per rush, had one touchdown, and their longest run was 20 yards. They were 8, 9, 10, 12, 14. They were had 11 catches for 118 yards, 10.7 average. So, Bill, they had 244 total yards of offense. Oklahoma State had 526. This is the most amazing stat. Do you know that between Texas Tech and Kansas State, their third down total together, their third down success rate, 2 for 27. Texas Tech was 1 for 14 on third downs, and Kansas State was 1 for 13 on third downs.
So they're almost there, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Oklahoma State, Sanders 16 of 25, 153 yards, 6.1, one touchdown, threw 2 picks. One of them was inexcusable. Skylar Thompson, 11 for 23, 118 yards, 5.1 yards per pass, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Now let's get to the rushing stats.
Yeah, it was the Chuba Hubbard show. 25
for 296, averaged a first down every time he touched the ball, 11.8, had an 84-yard touchdown. L.D. Brown, 4 for 25, 6.3, and then Sanders, 14 for 52, 3.7 with a 29-yard run. K-State did have their back 12 for 44, 3.7. And then passing the ball, Wallace had 8 catches for 145 yards and 18.1 average. Landon Wolf had 3 catches. Hubbard caught 2 out of the backfield, and then Stoner, Carter, and Woods all had a catch. It was very methodical. They still have trouble in the red zone running the ball. They're going to have to figure that out. But defensively, Bill, that was the best performance since I couldn't even tell you.
I'm going to say, when Chuba's running it like that, you just abandon the passing game. I mean, this dude, if you're breaking off 10 yards at a clip, I mean, in all fairness to Wallace and what he can do, but man, I'd just be so tempted. That luxury to have him in the backfield and be able to just go, hey, can you get me 10 yards? Yeah, I can get you 15.
Because the second line of defense there, they're more concerned about getting to the outside and relying on the interior to stop whatever's happening up front. So when the opportunity or the threat of a guy like Sanders keeping it and getting to the corner, and you don't have the angle of pursuit because you're staying at home, Now you start cheating out a little bit, and he gets outside a couple of times. Now when they run that play up the gut and he makes that first move and he's through, you're out of position. And to me, it's more about the perimeter run game setting up the middle than it is the passing game or anything else. And it's scary when you can do that. So I thought it was a great performance by both Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. I think Oklahoma is kind of on cruise control. And I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Probably okay going to Lawrence, but they should have been tested before Dallas, where they will be. And I think Oklahoma State's got some confidence, at least in knowing that they were able to take away what another Big 12 school tried to do defensively. Does that mean they're going to stop other teams? No, but it is a sign of progress.
Well, and the thing that we talked about last week as far as what is Oklahoma need to work on. Defense, we won't ever know until Texas. I mean, sorry, we're not going to know until Texas. You're not going to find out this week. You're going to find out at Texas what they can do defensively, really.
That's fair.
Offensively, it's still Jalen Hurts. Does he have touch? I saw him throw a ball the other day, and he put it so on the money for a touchdown. And then I come back the next series, and he throws an interception. He throws the ball behind. The wide receiver falls. He tips it up in the air. Shouldn't have had the interception to begin with. So that inconsistency to put the ball where he needs to. Can he throw it deep? Yes, but the touch is not there all the time. When you're throwing 5-yard slant routes and it's right on the wide receiver's hip or behind him, I'm sorry, but that's not helping your wide receiver. You need to throw it in front of him or lead him. You're not Tom Brady and can throw wide receivers open. He needs to perfect that, and especially in weeks such as Kansas, such as other games to where you're not playing these high-profile teams, that you can work on that and grow your skills. And I think he does everything right as far as doing all that. It's just I haven't seen that part of his game progress that far. And I know it's a different group of wide receivers that he's working with, and there's always different aspects and speed with everybody. But that familiarity should be there decent right now to where he can pick wide receivers open. He should be able to set wide receivers up.
Yeah, let's go back and look for just a second, Bill. Houston, no defense. They weren't known for their defense, and they didn't have any. Let's not even mention South Dakota, okay? UCLA, they won at Washington State but gave up 62 points, right? So there's obviously no defense there. Then you get Texas Tech, which their secondary is now coached by who coached OU secondary last year, and it was obvious.
So rock solid.
So let me ask you a question. When do we see what he can do when he's actually being chased, when the poles are shooting up out of the ground, and he's playing against teams that are going to have enough talent in the back to send an extra guy to at least mirror him or get in his face? I'm not saying he can't do it. All I'm saying is they're not going to get an opportunity to know what they can do until they get up against most likely the most talented team in the league besides themselves in Texas.
Well, and it's just there's so much to work on in his game, but he also brings a great skill set to it. And for every
Did you say Tua?
Yeah. Well, he brings it away from Tua.
Okay.
For every nitpicky thing we can sit here nitpicking on is after the game he's working out, after the game he's staying late, or before the game he's coming in early. There's that part of it.
Yeah.
He's got a
Although you were nitpicking. All I was saying was I'd be interested to see how he makes those decisions and those throws when there's somebody in his face.
Yeah, I think he's got the right mindset. And
nitpicker.
With his feet, he may never have anybody in his face the way he can scramble out.
That may be so, but they've had no I mean, he's back there playing Dancing with the Stars with my girlfriend. It's just not going to happen.
Does Carol know about her?
Yes, because none of this is new news to Carol.
Okay.
No. Like she cares. I'll tell you who cares. The Major League Baseball world, because when Bill speaks, it's like the old commercials for E.F. Hutton. People listen. Mm-hmm. So we're going to listen to Bill when we come back. We're going to talk the playoffs, which right now, Milwaukee is beating Washington for that National League wild card berth so that they can then go out and probably get abused by the Dodgers in a few games.
And by the time this show airs, Milwaukee or Washington will have won this game. So congratulations to you,
wild card winner.
You're listening to Excessive Celebration on Crossover Radio, reminding you to dance with that ad app.